Well, one of the interesting stats that I learned a few years ago about, and maybe it was even from you, was just like kids who go to early childcare and those who don't. And so even though we say it's a year difference, and I want you to give me the real definition of this, but like kids that go in at like 3 and 4 instead of 5, like it's remarkably different world. And so it's so much better for our communities that their kids go into early childcare and development and stuff like that. Like, tell me about that, because when I heard that number for the first time, I was like, oh, it makes a ton of sense, but I never really thought of it that way. I don't have kids, obviously. I think both of you guys do, but like, it's interesting to think about that, because it's so important for society.
I think a lot of people see childcare, maybe daycare, as just a service of babysitting. But I got pulled into this, and this is why I love it, and I'm so excited and fascinated to be able to be in this industry, because for young children, it's actually like their most important time for learning in a person's life, because the brain is developing at this just exponential rate. 95% of the brain is developed by age 5. And so there's this incredible opportunity in the early years to set children up for success, not just in school, but in work and life. And the environment that they're in, and it can be a nurturing caregiver in any space, but the environment that they're in is really important. And so childcare, when done correctly, is truly early care and education. It is an educational environment with professionals who are trained, educated, nurturing, loving, who know what they're doing. And that's not always the case, because it's a very fragile business model. It's, the average childcare worker is making a little bit above minimum wage. And so there's this huge disconnect between, and it's an industry challenge. It's a challenged business model. I don't want to say broken, but it doesn't quite work when you say, wow, this is so important. Like, we have to have these educators, yet the average, the national wage for a childcare worker on average is $9.62 an hour. Like, it's crazy. And it's an industry with no benefits. Most providers are not able to provide even the most basic benefits, like health insurance. You never get it.
Interesting. You said something very, very interesting there. And I think any business can think about this. It's kind of the what I think you do effect, right? Where you said what you do, early childcare education, right? Or being in daycare and things like that. It's just babysitting. But that's not the case, right? It's way more than that. And so how do you then develop a brand, or how do you teach these environments, these communities, that, hey, it's not just babysitting the way that you think that it is. It's far more than that. So how do you walk through someone like that?
Well, and like, what's so interesting is Virginia Beach is maybe in the country one of the first communities to recognize that early childhood is a workforce development issue. It's our workforce of tomorrow. And they recognize if we start investing earlier, and they've invested in the business development programs, they do a lot of things. If we invest early, we're going to have these huge return on investments, because we're going to reduce remediation rates. We're going to have kids with higher graduation rates, less jail time, post-secondary. Like, when you put a dollar value on it, and this guy named James Heckman did a study, the return on investment for communities for early childhood is like 12 and 1. It's higher than post all kinds of different, programs. Like, it's huge. But what we found with COVID-19 too, which we already knew, but we're an essential service. The economy doesn't work if parents don't have childcare. They cannot work if they don't have reliable, safe, high quality childcare. Parents don't want to just leave their children anywhere. It is a vital service. And we, just like a lot of businesses out there, weren't set up for a crisis. We were not, and our business model is not set up for crisis.